Good morning, everybody, and welcome to the BOCC meeting for February 21st. Would you all please rise for the Pledge of Allegiance? I
pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Okay, gentlemen, first thing we have on our agenda today are the minutes. Do we have any additions or corrections?
No.
I don't have any. I move to approve the proceedings of the Board of County Commissioners for Montezuma County for Tuesday, February 7th, 2023 as presented.
Second.
It's been moved and seconded to accept the proceedings of the Board of Commissioners, Montezuma County, February 7th, 2023. Any further discussion? All those in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Okay. Next up is planning. And the first thing we have is a public hearing. So would you call the roll, please? Kim?
Commissioner Candelaria.
Here.
Commissioner Lindsay.
Here.
Commissioner Copenhaver.
Here.
Administrator Anderson.
Here.
Attorney McLaren.
Here.
And Kim Purcell, Montezuma County Clerk and Recorder. Notice is hereby given that the Montezuma County Board of County Commissioners will hold a public hearing for a review and determination of a proposed high-impact special use permit application and commercial planning unit development application submitted by Circle C RV Park and Campground Incorporated, agents Lana Kelly and John Godbout, on property located at 28,000 Road T, Dolores, Colorado, consisting of 14 acres more or less, located south of Road T, west of Highway 145, situated in Section 19, Township 37 North, Range 15 West, N.M.P.M. The hearing will be held Tuesday, February 21st, 2023 at 9 a.m. in the Commissioner's Hearing Room, Montezuma County Administrative Offices, 109 West Main, Cortez, Colorado. Interested person may attend and give input. Information may be obtained from the Planning Office online services at https://co-montezuma-co.smartgovcommunity.com, public home. You may also contact the Planning Department at 970-565-2801 with questions. Dated this 27th day of January, 2023. Kim Purcell, Clerk, Board of County Commissioners, Montezuma County, Colorado. Published in the Journal on Wednesday, February 1st, 2023.
Thank you, Kim. All right, Don, would you like to give us an overview on this one?
Sure. Circle C RV Park. It was established in the late 90s. It was kind of a retreat, mental health type operation. They had a high impact permit for a couple years there. They put in a ropes course. Part of the stipulation was that in a year they apply for and get permitted for a PUD for the campground area. The owners went through P&Z and then they never finished the operation. And the high impact permit was only good for 2 years after completion of the ropes course. So that is all expired. PUD was never issued. So we're just getting the campground into compliance now. They installed a new septic system there for the east RV spots in 21, I think, or was it fall of 21, I believe. Anyway, they're just getting compliant, getting their PUD and their high impact permit.
Okay.
That's pretty much basically what is on the ground, and they're not proposing to expand that anymore. There's actually 2 septic systems on the property there to account for the demand.
Okay. Would you like to add anything?
No, I think Don pretty much covered everything. It's been there since the late 90s. And we had the old septic inspected because we were worried about the demand, and the engineer recommended a second system, so we went ahead and went with his recommendation. And we've got a good relationship with our neighbors, and I don't believe we've had any complaints or anything, so that's about it.
Okay. Commissioners, any questions at this
No.
point in time?
I don't have anything
Okay.
right now.
All right, well then I will open this up for public comment. Anybody wishing to speak for or against this application, please come forward to the podium, state your name and address for the record, and you may address the commissioners at this point in time.
Hi there, Susan Lysak, 27933 Road P in Dolores. I am the director of the Chamber of Commerce in Dolores, so I know both of these owners very well. I was very excited to have them come into the area, and they bring a lot of good tourism. They're very good shepherds with what they do at their property, and I look forward to working with them. And I think that they're very good business people, and they're looking to expand, and they're looking to be community activists and just kind of helping out the area. So I appreciate all that they do. Thank you.
Thank you. Next. Okay, seeing no further comment, I'm going to close the public comment session of this application. I am going to bring it back to the commissioners. Commissioners, do you have any
No,
questions for the applicant at this point in time?
I remember the ropes course coming before the previous commission at that time, and there was no problems at that time either, so.
And there's a pretty decent distance between where the RVs are and the closest residence, right?
Yeah, I would say at least 300 feet would be the closest it came to a residence. And we, just for the record, we did dismantle the ropes course when we took over. So.
Okay. Yeah. So commissioners, certainly you need to find that the proposed use is in conformity with the code. I think certainly it is. The other thing that you have to find is that the proposed use shall not generate any significant adverse impacts to neighboring properties. As we just heard, there's some distance between the RVs and any sort of residence, and no public comment today indicating any sort of significant adverse impact. And so public utilities, Don, those are all available. It looks like the septic was put in.
Correct. And the driveway is a shared driveway with Montezuma Water Company's main office. And Road and Bridge has signed off on it. They're gonna go ahead and have, Lana turned in a driveway application. They're gonna request Montezuma Water do the same just to memorialize that driveway and get it on our records, but it's in great shape and been that way for years and been being used, so nothing's changing there.
And so that's the final decision criteria, that the public utilities are available, and we hear that they are.
Nothing is changing, though. This is still the layout that's been there for
Yeah.
quite a few years.
Correct, yes.
Yeah, okay. All right.
I would so move we approve the permit for the commercial planned unit development submitted by Circle C RV Park and Campground Incorporated, agents Lana Kelly and John Godbout, is that correct? That's correct. Okay, on property located at 28000 Road T, Dolores, Colorado.
Second.
It's been moved and seconded to accept the proposed high-impact special use permit application and commercial planned unit development application submitted by Circle C RV Park and Campground, Inc., agents Lana Kelly and John Godbout on property located at 28000 Road T, Dolores, Colorado, consisting of 14 acres more or less. Any further discussion? All those in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
All right, I will close this public hearing. There you go.
Thank you,
Motion
folks.
passes. Thank you.
Thank you. And being that that whole entire parcel encompasses the PUD, we won't have a plat with a commercial envelope on it.
Right.
It'll just be the whole property is part of the PUD, just for clarification.
Okay. All right, well, my ticker says it is 9:10, so we're going to go ahead with our second public hearing. Do you have your applicants here? Okay, all right, Kim, would you call the roll, please?
Commissioner Candelaria?
Here?
Commissioner Lindsay?
Here.
Commissioner Copenhaver?
Here.
Administrator Anderson?
Here.
Attorney McLaren?
Here.
Kim Purcell, Montezuma County Clerk and Recorder. Notice is hereby given that the Montezuma County Board of County Commissioners will hold a public hearing for review and determination of an amendment to High Impact Permit Number HIP-08-2021, Special Use Permit Number SUP-12-2021, and Commercial Planned Unit Development submitted by Bright Star Agent TroyJaskowski. Did I say that right? On property located at 30261 Road H, Cortez, Colorado, consisting of 11.7 acres more or less, located south of Highway 160, east of Road 27, situated in Section 34, Township 36 North, Range 15 West, N.M.P.M. The hearing will be held Tuesday, February 21st, 2023 at 9 a.m. in the Commissioners' Hearing Room, Montezuma County Administrative Offices, 109 West Main, Cortez, Colorado. Interested persons may attend and give input. Information may be obtained from the Planning Office online services at https://co-montezuma-co.smartgovcommunity.com, public home. You may also contact the Planning Department at 970-565-2801 with questions. Dated this 27th day of January, 2023. Kim Purcell, Clerk, Board of County Commissioners, Montezuma County, Colorado. Published in the Journal on Wednesday, February 1st, 2023.
Okay, thank you, Kim. All right, Don, would you give us an overview on this one?
Sure. So this was Camp Cush that was previously permitted. So the Jaskowskis, who now own the property, are looking to add the 14 dry campsites, as well as converting one shower house into 2 tiny cabins. There's one septic system that takes care of the gray water for the existing utilities, facilities. The laundry there is not in, but the previous septic engineer did design their septic system to account for that gray water. All the gray water goes into the septic system. There's a vault toilet there that accounts for the waste and gets pumped out. So now with adding the campsites, they're looking at putting in another vault there on the south end of that property that will give access there to the toilets there on the south. There won't be any gray water because there's no water campsites on that part of the property. So they're just looking to expand the PUD within the same confines, only adding the additional campsites that weren't previously included in the approved PUD and high impact permit.
Okay, would you like to add anything? Either one of you.
Well, we did create a small presentation so that we could show you what the impacts were and the changes.
Sure.
That's, okay, there it is. So I could walk through that, try to go pretty quick, but it's also so that anyone, you know, from the neighborhood could also see it and understand better what we're doing. For one thing, when we put this through, or we made this application originally, we were asking to maybe have it as open to the public for public events, but we changed our mind based on feedback and really looking at that could add more traffic and be a concern, and we didn't, and because of the road is also hard to maintain, we don't really want that added problem. So we don't want to open this up for public events. We just want to keep it as a private campground. So we want everyone to know that that's off the table. We want to take it off the table, okay? So the reason we're doing this is that the previous owners actually were running all of these campsites, and that's what we thought we were buying. And so the only addition to that is those two little tiny cabins. They wouldn't hold more than 2 people each or add more than 2 cars a day, if we even do them. But we'd like the option. So these campsites have been running for years. So it's not really a change to the traffic flow and activity down there. So the amendments that we're actually asking for are the 14 dry campsites, 4 of which to be occupied by professionally made teepees, 1 8x8 pre-existing storage building that was left off the PUD that was existing before, 1 10x20 new storage and laundry building, which was approved, as Mr. Haley said, for the septic. And it's not for guest use, it's just for our use to do laundry for those cabins, and towels and things, and for storage. And the 2 studio cabins, as we said, and the additional vault privy, which was already mentioned. We currently, the vault privy we have now currently has 2 sets, 2 men's, 2 women's. So the next slide, campground occupancy. It's already said that. So the traffic increase by those 2 cabins, if we do them, would be a maximum of 2 cars a day, okay? If all sites are occupied at a maximum, and I need to read this from up here because we had to adjust it. Based on, the past, 8 to 40 guests per night during the high season, which is half the year. And it's a big range, but it is realistic. We had, 6 or 8 guests some nights, but then on a really busier time, we might have 40. And maybe on a holiday, we could have as many as 70. But again, that's just a couple days a year. And some major holidays. Memorial Weekend, 4th of July, Labor Day. We might see a maximum of 70. That's our maximum. And we had put 60 when we were at the last meeting, but we didn't put it down. We were just kind of asked and taken by surprise, and we didn't have the calculation correct. So the actual maximum is actually 70 people, okay? That would be pretty rare, but it's possible on a night or 2 or so, let's see. So I have the only proposed increase above what has been in existence is for the 2 300 square foot studio cabins. They would go in place of a shower house that's there now, because that shower house really is in excess of what's needed out there. There's 2 big ones. Okay, so we already covered all that. Okay, so the next slide. And I just made this chart to show, what's normal for a site. Most of the sites are booked by couples, by 2 people and 1 car. Most people come in 1 car, whether they're 2 people or 4 or 5 people, because if it's 4 or 5, it's usually kids with their parents. So when you really look at the vehicles, you can't say, obviously, 70 people means 70 cars. It probably means about 25 max, because we get a lot of people who come single, and the majority come, as I say here, 50% of the people come as couples or pairs. And then you have a very small percentage where you have 3 to 4 guests at one site, or 5 to 6. And then we have a group site that is occasionally booked at 7 to 10 guests. And you might get 1 to 3 vehicles there. Most of those only came in 1 vehicle. They'd come in, if it was a group, they'd come in a van or an RV, with a lot of people. But That was the less common of the bookings. So just to look at an idea of vehicles, it's really not that many when you realize most people travel together. And so the next slide. That's just breaking down the traffic more. So I just say projected number of vehicles at full capacity for every single site, the Hogan, the cabins. If you had every single thing booked, you could expect 24 to 28 vehicles in a day. And that's not a common situation. Normal would be 4 to 10 per day and 8 to 20 on a holiday. So a good strong holiday might have 20 or so vehicles, but on a day. Typical 4 to 10. November through April, we're basically closed. So half the year, we have no added traffic. We have, currently we have, like, for example, we have a house which is separate from the campground, but it's rented by a single person. So they're just adding normal traffic for a house, or less than normal. And we have a Hogan that rents year round, but that's only rents a couple of days a month usually. And we have, so that's maybe 2 to 4 days a month in the winter. You have one car extra. Okay. And it has its own bathroom. It has its own, one of those porta potties that's serviced every month. So it's kind of separate from the campground. The main campground sits 10 acres back, but the Hogan's a little closer. Not close. It's still on the commercial property. It's not close to the road, but it's closer, in other words, and it has its own porta potty. The campground in the back, way back there, doesn't operate at all in the winter. Let's see what that property value. So I didn't realize it changed after our purchase of the property. So I just want to address property value a little bit. There was a little concern that being there could have a negative effect, but the facts don't show that right now. After we purchased the property immediately that summer, there were 2 more sales, one right across the street from us and one right down the street, but on our little dead-end section, that both sold at record highs. So I don't think we had any negative effect on property value. And they actually did both contact me because our phone number is on the gate. And they wanted to know about the campground. And they didn't have any concerns about it. The only concern they had was about a compound of buildings across the street from us that wasn't related to us. So, next slide. So a little about our guests and how it runs there is the majority of our guests reserve sites through Airbnb and N.M.P.M. They are vetted through the booking sites with government ID and pay in advance. Every guest is personally met at the gate by camp hosts or by us and shown to their sites with an orientation. So people aren't running around not knowing what they're doing, okay? Last year, we had about 2 guests a month, usually Europeans, who would show up without reservations. Our camp host or us are always swift to intercept anyone showing up without reservations and approval, and they just have to show, if we have room for them, we'll take a reservation. They just have to show ID and pay in advance. So there's no unvetted riffraff running around, Most guests arrive between 3 and 9 p.m. Our cutoff is 10:30 p.m. We encourage people to be there by 9. Once they arrive, they rarely leave until the next morning when they leave to go do their tours in Mesa Verde, shopping, mountain biking, or whatever. So they don't usually get there and go back and forth. Occasionally, but that's not the norm. Last summer, the homestead on the property that is up by the road was rented as a vacation rental and had many different guests. We had no complaints or concerns by any of those families about the campground, the noise, activity coming and going from the campground. That homestead is the closest one in the neighborhood to the campground. All of those rentals were made through Airbnb, and every single review can be accessed publicly on Airbnb, and you won't see one complaint about the campground being disturbing in any way. Next. Okay. So a few pictures so you can have a visual. This is the entrance off the road. And one note here is just to show you all the road work we've done. You can see all that clean gravel and grading. We spent $34,000 on new road work inside the campground. That's going to avoid people getting stuck and having problems and any disturbances over that with mud. And that's also something we plan to continue working with on the main roads outside of the campground. But also a point here is to say, this is from the road and you can't see the campground. It is about 10 acres back. You can barely see anything on it from the road. You can see the Hogan. If you go to the next slide, I'm far top left, you see the circled Hogan. That's the closest thing to the road. Then you go further back across an arroyo, and that's where the actual campground exists, way back there. It's very in the neighborhood.
It actually drops down.
Yeah.
It sits lower down there too.
It does, yeah. And then on the far right, you'll see you can see an RV sitting behind the house, and that's our camp host. And they watch the road. They watch both gates. They watch the road 24/7. They're like, they're watchdogs, and so is our last camp host. And they really are like neighborhood watch, which is, I think, a real benefit to the neighborhood. They really care, and so did our last host. It's the kind of people we want there. So that's everything there. Yeah, reservations required. This is a picture inside the campground. That's the laundry building on skids. That's the one that we said was approved for the septic. The little red building, it's a storage and laundry. The building closest that doesn't have an arrow is the kitchen, which is a kitchen that everyone can access and use. And that wooden building on the side of that road is one of the shower houses. Has 6 stalls in it. It's really nice inside. And then there's 2 campsites sitting back behind there. It kind of gives you a feel for the layout right there. This is basically the same spot looking the other direction. So you see that kitchen, the other side of it. And where those arrows are is where the tent and teepee sites are. And there's not a lot of them there, just a few in a big area. And then more way out looking towards Mesa Verde is where the 3 teepees, and then going across where you can't even see much further are the 3 tent sites. Tent or van sites.
Spread out over about a 2-acre.
Mm-hmm.
All the campsites are spread out.
And that's just a picture showing, kind of typical campers. Each one, and in these cases too, is one vehicle. 3 girls here with their little tents and one vehicle who are traveling through the area, and then this couple in this truck with their 1 tent and a small trailer. But that's just kind of the way, just to show you. That's actually a 1 campsite. These pictures I had. But these are 2 other campsites, and they are on the north end, and they're covered. Each one is covered, just little covered campsites. This is the group site. It was a chapel.
Yeah, that was the chapel when it was the children's Bible camp.
Mm-hmm. And it's nice because it's covered. And if you're inside the chapel and you're looking to the north, you can see the little 8x8 building that was already existing, and it's a storage building. They used to use it as a little store or something. And you can see one of the covered sites, so you got to see how they're set. That's the vault with the men's and women's side of toilets, and those are the little camping cabins back there. And these are pictures of the pavilion where people eat or just relax. It's attached to the kitchen. And that's showing that little closer up of that area for campsites that we call the views. Yeah, and so the conclusion being, we purchased this property, a commercial campground in 2022 that we believe fits very well with the rural setting of this property. This amended PUD is in accordance with the prior operations and major investments in infrastructure we have made. We have great respect for the land and the community. We have made friends in the community right there, and we're all trying to work together for issues on the road and just being good neighbors. We invested our life savings into this property and business, so our focus is to improve the values and to contribute to the community of the road, as well as provide an intimate, high-quality tourist experience that will not affect our neighbors negatively. Without the campsites on this amended PUD, the property cannot sustain itself financially, as we provide many amenities, ensuring high-quality campers, full insurance, 24/7 on-site supervision, even in the winter, and maintenance of the grounds, as well as a commitment to maintenance on the access road. And just to reiterate, the campground does sit 10 acres back and across the arroyo from the road. It's barely visible. There's quite a bit of distance between anyone else.
Okay,
Okay, that's my presentation.
right.
Okay.
thank you. Commissioners, questions? for Either of them at this time? It does all sit within the current PUD, correct? Correct.
Correct.
Yeah, nothing is outside of the boundaries.
Correct.
All right. Okay, well, I will then open this application up for public comment. Anybody wishing to speak for or against this application, please come forward to the podium. State your name and address for the record prior to providing your comments, and you may address the board.
Susan Lysak, 27933 Road P in Dolores. And again, I'm the Dolores Chamber of Commerce, but I met Troy and Robin quite a few times and was very excited to have them open up that campground because this area does need more tourism. We have a lot of outdoor activities around here, and we have a lot of campers coming through, a lot of RVers coming through. And so to be able to support that community, I think is essential. Mesa Verde brings a lot of tourism to this area, and I think that what they're trying to do and develop that is a positive for both the community because they do want to respect the land and then to be able to attract different types of tourism to the area. So I do feel like their campground has a positive impact on the community as well as tourism and the economy. Thank you.
Thank you. Next.
My name is Tricia Hale, 30655 County Road H, Cortez, Colorado, 81327. So I have talked with Robin and last week, and we're not against the campground. I mean, we're the adjoining property, and they've done a great job painting those buildings. They look really nice. We're not so sure about the teepees that are already up because we've gotten a lot of negative remarks on they don't fit in with the decor, but I'm not going to fight it, you know. That's a campground. But our biggest concern is, and because it's in what they have put up before you, I still want to address the noise level. And they said they no longer want to hold special events, but that was a huge issue, and I stated that at the last meeting. And it went, and I know they said they won't do it again, but because it's in here, I just want to ask that we do not have special events. These went till 12:30 at night. My husband gets up at 3:30 in the morning, so, and the noise level was horrible. And I think because we're up against the mesas, it might just resound. against the mountains and bounce back, but it was a pretty rough 2 nights. So I just wanted to address that because it's in the paperwork here. My other issue is the road. It is in horrible condition right now. I know that's because of all the snow that's been sitting there, but if they're finished in October, we want to ask that that road be brought up to good condition before winter hits. There will be a lot of traffic, and just because they check in at 9:30 or 10 does not mean they're not going to go back out for a meal or an event or whatever. So each car does have the potential of coming in and out many times. Excuse me, I'm hoarse today. The road is a one-way road in many places, and we live at the upper half, so they live on the first half of the road. And there's a big curve there, and we can bottleneck there very easily. Many times we pull over for each other because it's kind of tough to get through the 2 cars through. So I do tend to disagree that there's not going to be a big impact on the traffic. When it was the previous campground, we'd see 4 or 5 cars there. This, if it's running at full capacity, it's going to increase the traffic. Plus, they have the potential of coming and going throughout the day. And so my biggest concern is what is going to be decided about the road. It has to be dealt with. It is an absolute disaster. And in the summer, when they will have their guests there, there's going to be a lot of rutting on the road. And like I said, the impasse, it's going to be difficult to get around. And if there's a constant flow of that many cars, because there's only about, I think I counted maybe around 10 residences on this at the most. So the road is our big issue, and I would really like it if that were part of the agreement, that they maintain that piece and maybe even widen it. Thank you.
Thank you. Next. I'll get both of you.
Hi, I am Carlin Fravel. My address is at Robin and Troy's beautiful Airbnb on the property. And I wrote some of this down because I get really nervous. But before I get to this part, I just want to address something that the neighbor brought up. I moved from Atlanta, Georgia, after 29 years to Cortez, December 1st, pulled in. My home isn't ready yet, so I needed somewhere to stay. And I had the fortune, great fortune, of finding their home and them as owners. Being a single woman out here, brand new, right? So when I got here December 1st, in a new, well, not new to me, truck, that road was not bad at all. Really wasn't. Or I would have noticed. I've just come 4 days across the country. It was late, not dark, but I would have thought, I know I would have noticed if it was a real mess. Like, oh, great, this is where I have to, it was a really tiring time. In these 3 months I have lived there, that road has really changed. And I understand that I have come into the worst weather and winter in 20 years. So when he said, oh, you brought it from Atlanta, I'm like, no, probably not. But it wasn't. It was not like it is now. And very few trucks up and down, but they are all trucks. Every owner that I have seen, I might be wrong, has a big truck. And big trucks make more ruts than little cars. So I try and go very, very slowly. A couple times I've run on, I can see someone on a straightaway coming, and I'll just wait. I'll just wait till they come. If this weather has been odd because of the snow, I can't tell where there's room for 2 trucks. Like I don't feel good, that's just me, but I'll just wait. And I am hard pressed to think that even in the high season, there'd be a row of cars. There aren't enough spots for, a concert backup or a lot of cars. So people are gonna come between, 4 and 9, they're not all gonna come at 6:02. That's my understanding from something I did and worked on in Atlanta. So I just wanted to mention that. It would be extremely odd that there were a whole lot of cars at the same time. And everybody goes slow, especially because it's a dirt road. So, and are neighborly to each other. So I wanted to explain that was something I really had noticed, especially arriving here December 1st. But I have been renting it for 3 months. I think I've seen a UPS or FedEx truck once. Neighbors passing in these three, and I'm not in and out a lot, but now as my property is almost ready for me to move to, I'm out, in and out maybe 2 or 3 times. And I maybe in a week see 3 trucks, 3 other vehicles. I mean, so I'm not saying it's not going to be different in the high season, but it's really very low, and everybody goes slow. The owner, people, I'm assuming the owner's further down the road because it's a dirt road.
Okay, you have one more brief comment.
I will make that comment. Thank you very much for giving me this time. The other thing that has been outstanding for me is the on-site 24/7 caretakers. There's a couple that is on need. I had a guy come one day to get a check for one of the things he's done at my property, and he had a different truck, and the husband came out. And it was middle of the day, bright, sunny day. Who's here? And he was looking out for me. Is this vehicle supposed to be here? And that has been the best feeling ever, and I think any camper on the campground would feel the same if they needed something. That couple is there 24/7. Thanks so much for your time.
Thank you. Next, ma'am.
Hello, I am Brittany Martin at 30160 County Road H. I'm speaking on behalf of my father, Alvin Martin Sr. And his complaint is about the traffic. It's just one road in and out. I get that our land has a road through it, but we can't get through because of snow. And it saves us a little bit of time because we go through it. But right now it is really muddy. I have a car. I can't get through there. My 4x4 went out, so it's kind of hard because I have a blue car and it's pretty low. And with the road, it's really bad. Every time I drive, it skids all the time. But and as for the UPS, we get at least 5 trucks a day in and out. They drive really fast. So that's mainly the cause of the road too. That's getting really deep. When you're driving, you slide all over the place. And then my dad said that the campground is more like it's open 24/7. Seems like they said that it's only closed during the winter hours, but it seems like it's open. And he says that they said that it's closed a certain time, but it's open almost like 24/7. And he usually is up and he hears noises, and the dogs are always barking, so he goes check. But it's just like a year round. And he says there's a lot of strangers coming around, and I thank you that it's gonna be not open to the public and it's just gonna be private, but it's still kind of a concern to him. And that's all he was concerned about too, and is that I get it's a camp was the marijuana. We didn't know that, and I wish we did get that in the beginning when it was. We didn't know anything about the camp there until my uncle Alvin Martin Jr. told us it was a camp called Camp Cush, and we were like, huh? Is that why everybody was coming? I mean, like we said, we barely met them whenever they seen a sign. That's the only time we met them. But we really didn't know it was a marijuana camp, and then that they're the new owners. And it was kind of like oh, okay, like, because we kept to ourselves. And that was basically, and then now that this is happening, it's kind of like the main concern is the road, the traffic, and the noise complaints, and is for him because he's getting older. He bought that land for him and us, so that way it's kind of like out of town and it's quiet. And we don't even like to hear the shooting too. So that's just us. We just kind of like quiet, like the quiet. And that's all I want to say for behalf of my dad. Thank you.
Okay, thank you.
Can I respond to that quickly?
Just a minute.
Okay.
You can write them down and then you'll respond,
Okay.
and then
Okay.
we can also respond.
Hi, sirs and ladies. My name is Billy Akers. I live at 30777 Road H, which is at the end of the road. That road is 3/4 of a mile from the asphalt cul-de-sac. It's 3/4 of a mile. Okay, the first 1/4 of a mile is being used by the campground. Okay, that their guests drive that first 1/4 of a mile. It's the nicest 1/4 of a mile of the 3/4 of a mile. Okay, I bought my property. I closed November of 20. Okay, since then, there's been one resident that has paid any money that's residing there now. One resident, and it gave me $1,000. There's another resident that has put rock on there since I've been there. None of the other residents that have spoken or live down there have contributed anything to this road. And there are 5 residents beyond the big Arroyo. Let's see, 1, 2, let me make sure I'm right. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 residents beyond the Arroyo, not the one they spoke of, but the big Arroyo. I don't know if you've ever been down there past the Trap Club, and you go to the end, there were 2 railroad train car bases with 2-bys across it. That was the bridge across it. When I bought my property, I couldn't do anything going over that bridge. I couldn't take big trucks over that bridge. I didn't know how sturdy it was going to be. So, sold that for the neighbor that had purchased it, and I had ordered an 8-foot culvert. Come on, Jim, I figured you'd know that. An 8-foot culvert and put in that arroyo. Now there's a 40-foot safe place to drive across this arroyo. Not to mention there's about 9 or 10 feet of rock and gravel, dirt over it, so I could run a water line to my house, 3,000 feet. Okay? I apologize to my fellow residents. We order stuff. We get a lot of UPS and FedEx because we sold everything before we came here. Sold everything virtually except our farm equipment. So we're ordering a lot of stuff. Okay? I call Yvonne with UPS, said, hey, Yvonne, you know, whenever it's dark or whatever the case is and it's been muddy, call me, I'll meet you at the cul-de-sac. Just save her from getting stuck. Now, my biggest concern is just like everybody else's, but it's not theirs. Everybody needs to contribute to this road. I've harped on it, and no one wants to pitch in for anything. Okay? I spent $16,000 to make that a nice drive over that arroyo. Okay? I had, like I said, I had one resident contribute that's residing there now. Okay? So that road, I hate to sound ugly, but I don't want to hear any whining until you step up to the pump. That's what I see as that road being a problem. It's not them. It's beyond them where the road gets really bad. And I graded from my house to the next neighbor, and I intend on putting some more rock back down. But I feel like I'm only good for a 1/4 of a mile. You know, these other guys need to contribute. So that being said, if I could, Mr. Candelaria, one more. You know, there's a bundle of rights when you own a piece of property. The right of possession, the right of control, the right of exclusion, the right to derive income, and the right of disposition. Of course, we're dictated by zoning and you know, other government, you know, situations. But my goodness, these guys, they bought a piece of property and want to make money. And if I've got 5 kids, if one of them want to have a wedding and I want to invite 100 people, I hope none of y'all hear about it because I'm not permitting for a daggum wedding, and I don't think y'all would either. You know, but here they're having to get permitted for 70 campers on the ground. That's just me, my opinion. Thanks.
Thank you. Appreciate it. Next.
Hello.
Yep.
My name is Doug Jennings, and I live at 30250 Road H. I live directly across from the camp, 40 acres across from it. After seeing what the Jaskowskis have done on that property, like they mentioned, the 30 grand of road base, I mean, it's nice in there. I've been over there a few times and seen the activity that they've done to improve per your recommendations and get things up to code above and beyond what you guys have required. I know they've done this. I think it's a great thing. They're going to bring tourism. I mean, the people there, they got to go into town. Yes, there's going to be road traffic, and I'll get to the road in a minute. But I tell you what, these guys are doing it right. And I've seen the teepees. I've been inside of them. I mean, they're not permanent structures, but I mean, they're nice. And I mean, the insides have queen-size beds, heaters, gas heaters, and cabinets for clothing and everything. They're beautiful. And so I don't think that's an issue. So what I did see a problem with is what the Martin lady said. She was blaming the entire road on the camp. That's absolute bullcrap. Absolute lies. The Martins have more traffic than that camp does. Where my house is, I got 60-foot elevation, so I could see all of the camp and all of the Martins' place. The Martins have 24/7 traffic, day in, day out. She said...
So let's just keep it strictly to what we're talking about. We don't care about what other traffic is at this point in time.
Okay.
So let's just stay focused on what we're dealing with.
Okay, so the road, everyone seems to think that the road is the most terrible thing. Billy Akers and I've put 48 loads of road base in that front section over the last 10 years myself. I've had help from Ken. He's contributed, the guy at the far end. I put 48 loads. Then I sold 18 acres for a buffer between me and the Martins because I'm tired of their dogs. They got a dog problem there. They say they chain them up. They do not. They keep one dog chained. They got 4 others. His sister up on the hill has 3 or 4 dogs.
Okay, we're not talking about dogs, so I'm going to try
Okay,
to
well, I'm just
stay
saying.
focused on just the application that we're talking about.
Okay, well, I put a buffer between me and the Martins to get away from their trash.
And we're not talking about the
know that.
Martins. I'm talking about, specifically, we're talking about just this application, sir. And I'm not trying to be rude. We're focused on an application and that's it.
Okay?
Okay.
All right, well, I wish you would give them their application because they're going to be contributing to the road. We've already talked about building the road between Billy, myself, and Troy. They did all their work and spent all their money last year inside the campground. We were going to address that this year.
Okay.
After more people, Rex Olin's place just sold, so we'll have those folks to help. And then the new people that bought my property, we're all going to help on the road and build the road. But if somebody could complain about the road and they don't chip in, this is not how you build a road.
Okay.
Okay?
Thank you,
You
sir.
have to.
Your time is up.
Okay, thank you.
Next.
Melissa Matthews, Montezuma County Public Health. I apologize, I was on my way back from Denver yesterday, so I wasn't in on the email chain. I just wanted to clarify for my own records, is the second vault going to be approved? Is that something we're talking about, or?
That's your department.
Okay.
If you could just clarify between the gray water system versus the vaults and whether or not the 2 cabins can have toilets.
Gotcha. Okay.
Or gray water, because that system was strictly designed around gray water. But it's gone round and round for 8 months, so if you're a little clearer than me.
So before we even get into this conversation, this is just something that's being proposed. That's going to be dealt with you specifically, whether it meets or
Perfect.
Doesn't meet. We don't have to address it in here
Okay,
at this point in
that's
time.
what I was making sure of. I
So,
wasn't sure if that had been approved.
If it's a vault for like a dump site, obviously there are criteria that you have to meet to go through public health, which is not part of this application, because in the application, it says you have to meet all of the requirements. So if there's a septic system that has to be on the property, you have to meet that criteria anyway, so.
Okay,
I
thank you.
think that will.
That's what I was wanting to know. Thank you.
So again, I'm just trying to keep it, public comment focused on the application of what we're trying to deal with and not bring any other emotions or questions into that we might have. So next, we're still in public comment. Okay, seeing no further comment, I'm going to close the public comment session of this application, and I'm going to bring it back to the commissioners for our questions, but I will give you the opportunity to respond to the question that you did want to respond to.
I did want to respond to Ms. Martin. Just first of all, it seems a lot of the things she's mentioning don't have anything to do with us and have maybe to do with some past experiences before we were there. We're not a marijuana camp. She called us pot farm on the last meeting, and this time a marijuana camp, but we have nothing to do with marijuana. We don't grow any marijuana. We don't sell any marijuana. Our campground is not focused on marijuana in any way, shape, or form. Okay, this is just completely false. Okay? There's a lot of things there I think she's just bringing up from she just doesn't know what she's talking about. Also, like making a deal about trucks. We don't receive any deliveries there, and we do that for a reason. We want to reduce the traffic. We pay for a P.O. box, and even our Amazon and UPS and everything, FedEx goes to the post office, and we pick it up there.
Okay.
Or our house. And our house is 5 miles down Road 8. So we have nothing to do with trucks. As a matter of fact, throughout the whole winter, we cancel our trash service, and we haul it ourselves to keep big trucks off doing more damage on that road. So we're very committed to really protecting that road and also to improving it and maintaining it in the future. And we've already, like with Billy, and I don't know if he made that clear, but we're talking with him and we're all working together on that.
So it's very clear to us that this is a red sign road. This red sign road is not a county road. It's up to the people of those properties to maintain that road. So I would, again, just as it was stated in public comment, it's for you guys, just like a subdivision, roads within that subdivision are your responsibility, not the county's. So if you want a better road, you do have to step up to the plate and upgrade it. Now, if you don't, there again, that's a criteria that you're going to deal with individually, not the county. So the county, from reading what we have here, it does meet all of the criteria set for this PUD, correct, Don?
That is correct. P&Z did have some conditions to their motion, if you want those now.
Well, if it's...
And I just had a couple questions before you get into those conditions.
Okay.
I'm just looking at the new sites, the new campsites. Do those meet setbacks? Are they 30 feet off the property line? It's hard on this map to really tell. Okay.
And there's no structures there. It's just
They're just
vacant
a-
ground.
But those teepees still are set 30 feet back.
Well, the teepees are a different issue. Technically, they're not supposed to be up right now because they're not approved. Being portable, you guys can have them taken down when the campground's not in operation and put back up. Might be one thing to consider.
Where are they sitting right now, though, in relation to the property line?
Nowhere near our property line, not even
They're
close.
CS 13, basically, if you look at that, where it says TP. So they're right in the middle of the property or in the envelope of the PUD is what I see, correct? Is that-
Yes,
There's
yes.
3 at the southeast corner of the
Uh-huh.
page.
Yeah.
And so those are 30 feet off? Okay.
The closest site's probably
Oh.
80 yards.
Okay. Yeah, it's just hard to tell on this map. It looks like it's right on top
So
of it.
the variance that we gave previously to this was for I think they called it the chapel, correct? Or,
Correct.
and then
In the northwest corner.
cabins on the northwest corner, or basically the one cabin.
Correct.
Because they didn't meet the setbacks at that point in time, and that variance was given by us a couple, couple of years ago, maybe? I don't know, time gets away.
That was just last year.
I guess I do have,
Before we took ownership.
No, I understand. I was curious about the teepees, especially down in that southeast corner. So, and then I guess the other question I had, how far are the teepees down in the south, on the southern part in that campsite CS1 from the bathroom facility? I mean, I understand there's this vault privy's proposed, but how far are we talking?
Well, it's a short walk, I know. I mean, what would you say? How far to the vault, to the toilets are those?
Across the bridge to the new one or the old one?
To the existing one. I mean, I would say 500, you know, 500 yards.
Oh, no.
Not really?
No, it's
I'm not good
probably
at that.
200-300 feet.
Okay.
Yeah.
Yeah, maybe, yeah.
yeah, would. So, I would like to, I guess I'm a little curious of if we've met all of the criteria. I guess I will ask what the Planning and Zoning Commission recommendations were and the criteria behind the recommendations.
All right, so the third motion was approved or recommended for approval on a 3-2 vote, but there were several conditions that they had, and basically those against it didn't feel like that much impact in the ag rural area may not be appropriate. But with some conditions, like I say, the motion passed to recommend it for approval to you guys on a 3-2 vote. The conditions are, in fairness to the neighbors and road traffic conditions, any event that is at or above 60 people, which is their recommendation for the maximum allowed on the campground at one time. That any event that exceeds the 60 people or that will have any live music will be required to get a special use permit for that event. That they recommend formation of an HOA or a road maintenance group to take care of the road conditions, whether that be blading, dust control in the summertime with the additional traffic on that first quarter mile. Then also that they did recommend that it was stated they did have a road committee already put together. It was suggested that those documents of that committee be brought to you guys today, but I don't think that is available. The other condition is that any and all events beyond the threshold of 60 people in the campground require a special use permit, and any live music would require a special use permit.
And before we go further, I just want to weigh in on one of those conditions. This condition about forming a road maintenance committee, that's not really something that we can tie into this special use permit. That's not within the
Correct.
purview of a special use permit, and so I would recommend that we don't adopt that condition as part of this special use permit.
Correct. That's more a recommendation than a...
So, and I appreciate recommendations, but it's really is, does it meet or does it not meet the conditions of the land use code? Is really what we're looking at.
So their position was that it does meet that, but there needs to be a limitation, because if you bring 15 people to each campsite, it's not limited to one tent at one dry campsite.
Right.
So, you know, like they said, if you could have 90 people out there, that's different than 60 people. And just,
So I think what was presented to us today, and correct me if I'm wrong, but your maximum is 70 is all you're going to permit.
Yeah, we don't feel comfortable having more than that anyway.
And then the live music or the special uses are off the table at this point in time.
As a public event.
Hold on just a minute. I've got a phone going off, and that's usually a $50 fine in this room. You guys have cell phones, please silence them or turn them off.
70 is really the maximum that we would be comfortable with there, and that is not crowded. And it could certainly handle more, but no, we don't feel comfortable with that. So, I mean, 70 is the maximum. And with live music, so we don't want to have public events, people coming and going, selling tickets maybe, or having some kind of community event or anything like that. We want it to stay private to the campers. It's a private place. So we want that off the table, as we said. We're not asking to do that. That seemed to be what caused most of the issues, really, was the idea of that.
So it's off the table at this point in time anyway.
But
Yeah.
it would be no live
open to the
music just
public
for the
live
campers
music.
themselves.
But live music, I would say public events, meaning like, I think they were afraid we were going to make a concert venue out of it.
Sure.
Okay, and we're not. Okay, and live music shouldn't be illegal or anything out there. I mean, live music that's
it's-
within the realms of nice live music, within the correct hours and decibels. And if we
I
wanted
guess
to,
that's where I was going to go to,
Yeah.
is in the land use code, you do have a decibel reading that you have to stay at your property line. So if you exceed that decibel reading at the property line, then you're out of compliance. So if you're playing music at your campsite, that is permissible. It just cannot reach the decibel point leaving your property onto a neighbor's property. So as long as you understand that, somebody actually has a certified decimeter and they take a decibel reading and you're out of compliant, then you're out of compliant. I just want to make sure that you guys understand that it could be, not that it will be, but it could be, you know, if you don't have somebody reeled in. I'm not saying that would or wouldn't happen. However, that is within the county everywhere.
so yeah, we've learned that since, and have every intention of respecting that. Yes.
And
We
actually
don't.
measuring it
Yeah.
and sending you data to
Well,
prove
well-
that we're
No,
not
it has to be,
If it-
that
we
we're not
need to.
exceeding
yeah, it has to
the
be
decibel
proven. It has to be a
50
certified decimeter at the property line for us to know that you're out of compliant.
purchased one.
Okay, you did, okay.
A certified decimeter. Can't just be off your iPhone. It can't be anything like that. It has to be a
Okay.
certified decimeter.
Yeah, but, makes sense. We understand that,
Okay.
okay.
So then really the live music condition is off, the HOA is off, so really we have no conditions other than, they were talking about the 60 for the road.
So
which-
now it would be anything exceeding 70.
70.
And then the only
It'd be
other
for us.
question would be on the teepees, if you wanted them up year-round or only during the open season.
I don't, to be honest with you, I don't have an issue with them being up all the time. I mean, it's whether you use them or not, it's not up to us. That's your business, as long as you're compliant with the land use code, that's your property. I'm not opposed to what you need to do on your piece of property, as long as you don't obviously impact your neighbor in a negative way. And, you know, it could be a house, and we wouldn't ask you to take down your house. So it does meet all of the criteria of the land use code. Commissioners, anything else?
No.
So the only expansion here, we're getting 2 units, the unit 1 and 2, and the change to the laundry and the vault privy? Is that the total changes that are occurring?
And the 14 dry campsites.
Yeah, the CS 1 through 14.
But they've already been there, they just weren't permitted before?
Correct.
Is that correct?
They weren't supposed to be used last year.
By the previous owner.
And others that were notified to quit using them, but correct.
So we're basically looking at this just like the one previous. We're bringing this into compliant because of what is now existing. They weren't permitted prior to you
Well, there's no,
purchasing the property, but it all falls within the land use code, and it's all permissible.
but the campsites themselves, I mean,
The
those are just-
campsites are
there's
being
nothing
added
existing other than
Correct.
just-
The 14 dry campsites are being
Correct.
added.
All the green triangles.
Yep.
4 would be teepees, the other 10 would be campsites.
So previously, when this was permitted with the high impact permit, so what was it permitted for?
The 6 cabins, the kitchen, the church, the shower houses, and the hogan.
Basically everything but those diamonds.
Yeah, everything but the campsites.
Can I say something real quick?
Sure.
So 2 days before we closed on this property, the previous owner, Jennifer Meeks, stated, oh, apparently the campsites are not on the plat map, and they're not going to be approved. And she threw Dawn under the bus saying that she told him about them several times, when we found out later that that was not true at all.
And she made it seem as, she told us about your goods on that, I'll be honest.
Which is,
So-
that's between you
Yeah.
and the
Yes,
buyer?
yeah,
That's
we,
a civil
she
action
sold
that
the
we
property
don't-
to us under false pretense.
Sure, that's-
Talked to Dawn, Dawn said, you'll have to go through the process and have them added, it won't be, shouldn't be a big deal. So, that's what happened.
Okay. Any other questions, Commissioner?
I guess, how much road impact was stated when they were having the church? How many people were going there then? Does
Nobody
anybody-
knows because it wasn't
mean-
permitted.
No, it wasn't permitted. She had done it without the permit. Once it was found out, then she came back in to get,
In 20,
hold on a minute.
It's $100. You're up to 100.
well, you can turn it off when it rings the first time too. Not that hard to push a button.
So,
In 2012, the church started this compound and built it up over 4 or 5 years. Then the previous owners took it over and started running Camp Cush, and that's when we became aware of it. And then they had to get permitted for it because it had absolutely nothing
permits.
reviewed prior. So I don't know what kind of traffic there was when it was a church camp. I mean, they had kids and activities, they had playground equipment. So what's changing now, I guess, is just adding the dry campsites to what was approved before.
so looking at it, it all meets the land use code and everything is within the confines of the PUD. If this is depicted what we're looking at right now.
Correct.
And then the conditions of the live music and the road maintenance HOA, which we're not gonna talk about anyway, are off the table. So
Not live music.
there's not, it meets the criteria of the land use code.
I think really the question would be, I mean, if, it has to meet the criteria of the land use code, but there also is the no adverse significant impacts analysis. That's the other piece you have to find. And so you have to find both to approve this.
Sure.
And so that's the other piece of it.
Yeah, that's the subjective part, is no adverse impact and does it fit in the area?
Anything else?
There's so many of these that's happened out in the country where they shouldn't be, that
I would so move that we approve the amendment to the, oops, wrong spot, to the amendment to the I impact permit number HIP-08-2021 special use permit SUP-12-2021 and commercial planned unit development submitted by Bright Star agent TroyJaskowski on property located 30261 Road H, Cortez.
Are you
With-
going to limit the number of people?
Yes,
Or not?
contingent upon recommendations from the P and Z and as stated by the owners themselves.
At 70 people.
Also contingent upon septic approvals and all of the amendments to the land use plan.
Second.
Okay, it's been moved and seconded to accept the amendment to the high impact permit 08-2021 and the special use permit 12-2021 and commercial planned unit development submitted by Bright Star agent TroyJaskowski on property located at 30261 Road H, Cortez, Colorado, consisting of 11.7 acres, more or less. Any further discussion? Oh, along with a condition of 70 people maximum, and obviously compliant with all of the rest of the septic system regulations.
Correct.
Any further discussion? All those in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Okay, I'll close this public hearing. And you are approved. Thank you for your time.
Thank you.
Okay, next we have wow, we have 3, 4, we have 6
Five.
Mylars to sign. So
You can flex that hand now, right?
I'm gonna flex this hand.
Nothing like some therapy to get it loose.
Yeah, it does.
Commissioner Copenhaver needs to
I can
stand
only
up and
sit
I
there
need to
so
flex
long.
my hand.
Pretty soon.
I'm fine.
It's better than it was before. Hell, I couldn't sit there 5 minutes.
What were you saying? We got some lost over there.
Well, over there in Magnus, the guy right down below us around the corner, he went through this whole thing. Got a special use permit. And he built, what he was building was these little for kids. But he was actually making it. Rattling up my cats. It's like herding cats. Anyway, what he was doing is he was building all that stuff. Yeah. Well, and he built all these farm goods for kids, is what it's called.
I know exactly where it was at. Yeah.
Well, he had that thing, and he had a specialized permit plan that permitted to do it. And then he wanted to expand because he got into doing a bunch of other stuff.
I kind of heard about this.
And we allowed him to do that.
Yep.
Well, it's. And when it got to the kids' school, they were because they said, well, we don't want Walmart out there anywhere.
Well, and that's why I was trying to emphasize this, the adverse impacts piece. Because the adverse impacts go, and I'm not trying to be obstructionist, but that's a fine you guys have to make on the record. That's critical. And you gotta couch the facts so that doesn't happen. The bigger issue that
thing is when they're out there and you open it up just like this to redo the thing, you could damn sure we would lose. I guarantee you.
See, I think this one we might be all right, just because of the buffer.
Yeah.
I mean, and that's the one thing we've got. That's such an expensive piece of property. Yep.
That to me is okay because it's right next to the highway.
Yeah.
I mean, it's not out in the middle of it.
Yeah.
This thing's out.
Well, and
Mine also road out there, but it's out there.
and that's where we're using the PUDs the wrong way. A commercial PUD wasn't meant to be out there. But when we approved the commercial PUD, then we boxed ourselves in because you can't go back and disprove. It's we got to rethink the way we're doing PUDs because one of these times it's going to come.
Well, it's just like that little deal we did down there with those little mini houses by the airport.
Yep.
To me, we created a 5-lot subdivision on 8 acres.
Somebody's going to come and bust us. Because I would if I were living down there. You know, I don't. as golden to use accordingly, if in the event they approve it. It is what it is. I think it gets a little bit more tricky. Oh, yeah, no, it was ridiculous, but my overarching point is just, if people really bring in something that's concise and clear, it's helpful, because for me, I could put that thing up and be like, hey, look, this is what was presented to us, this is the evidence they based their decision on. And I was kind of about to. I'm good. I'm not being obstructionist. I'm just trying to get a record created. That's why I keep bringing up the significant adverse impact. Just because if somebody comes and challenges this, it is, but it's a piece of we need to, you guys, when you approve these things, you guys have to say, we're approving it based on no significant adverse impacts because of the distance between the TVs and whatever. Just so if we get challenged in court, then I have something to say, hey, let's bring it all over.
Okay, we will continue on. If I can get my other two commissioners up here, we're a little behind, and I know you're looking good.
I think it's called derailed, not behind.
So, we're not behind. We're right on. Do you have anything else now?
We sure don't, do you?
That's enough.
Okay, great.
That's plenty for the day.
See you next week.
All right, thank you guys. I appreciate it.
Thank you.
Okay.
Well, we cleared that room, right, didn't we?
Now we're on to public comment. The Board of County Commissioners welcomes you to this meeting. Person speaking during public comment will be limited to 3 minutes, or depending on the number of people wishing to speak, it may be reduced to allow all members of the public the opportunity to address the board. When addressing the board, please state your name and address for the record prior to providing your comments. And comments to individual supervisors or staff are not permitted, and participants may not yield their time. And with that, the public comment session is open.
Good morning, ladies and gentlemen. My name is Mike Lynch, and I live at 21730 Road S. I recently came across some points in the Colorado Revised Statutes that you should be made aware of. I'm not a law student, and I don't follow our state legislature to know if these statutes have been replaced since last year, but my understanding is that these statutes currently exist. I think it was just a few weeks ago when I gave public comment regarding some financial moves between some county funds. I used the term transparency in a positive way. I found out it appears that the state of Colorado actually mandates one type of transparency. It appears that every county is required to publish semi-annually in the local paper in August and February the salaries of all county employees. I noticed that the county complied with this in August of 2022. It appears that every county is required to publish semi-annually in the local paper in August and February a semi-annual financial statement provided by the county treasurer per the same statute. I noticed that the county complied with this in August of 2022. Additionally, it appears that every county is required to publish monthly in the local paper an accounting of the previous month's claims and expenditures against the county treasurer. This is per the same statute. The only way to avoid these monthly publications if there is no legal newspaper located in the county. That appears not to be the case. So my understanding is that monthly publications of this type are required in our county, and I could not find any evidence that our county was complying with this statute. If it turns out I'm mistaken on what I claim this morning, then I'd like to at least encourage you to do these things voluntarily in order to give the citizens of our county the opportunity to see and to follow the monthly expenditures and compare them with the approved budget. I do not know the cost of publishing monthly information, but it might be money well spent if it helps the citizens of Montezuma County. Thank you.
Thank you. Next. Okay, seeing no further public comment, I will close the public comment session of this, and we're going to ramble on quickly, and we are going to the sheriff.
Morning, Commissioners.
Good morning.
Ian, Travis. This could be really short because you have my reports and my laptop's broken, so, okay? It's just the way it is. Just to let you know, we have 85 inmates as of today. In the county sheriff's report, you'll see those expenses as well as what was sent out in billing in the month of January and what the total count was for the month of January. Okay. I wanted to get some clarification from you when I had Commissioner Candelaria tell me that with security events and whatnot, the sheriff shouldn't probably be providing any security to take away from any private security business. So I have already received one security event request from Kiwanis out at the fairgrounds. They were told that they had to get to me to do that.
So let me make this very clear to you. What we said was when you were contracting out that private industry could be taken care of off of our facilities, that is what we were talking about. On our fairgrounds, that is our facility, and in our fairgrounds documentation, it is security is provided by the sheriff.
Okay.
So that's very specific in there, so I'm not sure what you're talking about.
Well, that's because that's what you said, and I certainly don't want to take away from any private industry.
It's private industry
okay.
as far as contracting out.
Yeah.
That's not on our facilities. So the fairgrounds is our facility. It's always been set up that way.
Okay. Well, we do have a security agreement that they have to agree to as far as payment
With the
and
fair,
whatnot.
yeah, that's
Okay.
correct.
So that's what I need to know to make sure it's clarified that I'm not seeing that I'm taking away from any private business.
On our facilities, it's stated in the fairgrounds
All right.
documentation that you are to provide.
Okay.
the
I will
security.
provide when I can, what I can with
Mm-hmm.
that. Okay. And that'll depend on what I have available. So, okay, just so you know that. The only thing that I wanted to pass on to you after yesterday's workshop is that my attorney advises me that there may be some legal issues that need to be addressed, and I'm asking if you'll have some additional time for my attorney to meet with the county attorney to address some of those legal issues, if we could. I don't know what they were, but that's what I was asked to ask.
In regards to what?
The decision about the vehicles.
Well, that's really up to you guys.
Yep, it's
How
up to
wanna
you.
handle
It's
that.
your decision. I'm just asked to ask some additional time there.
What's
Those
the
two
time
meetings.
frame?
I don't know. Probably this week, I would imagine.
I feel comfortable moving forward on the advice that you guys got yesterday, but I'm certainly happy to meet with Ms. Johnson if you guys would prefer.
Yeah, okay.
Okay.
You have a week.
Yeah, okay.
Yeah, that'll work.
All right, well, then I'll see you next Monday. I think that's when I'm here.
Okay.
Okay, thank you.
Marijuana grant.
All right.
Okay.
Okay. Okay.
Yeah.
All right.
All right. Corner, George.
I don't have nothing.
Good morning, everybody.
Morning.
Morning, George.
So I guess we'll start off with our January report. In January, we had 12 coroner cases, 16 hospice cases, did 3 autopsies. We've had 0 motor vehicle accidents for the month of January. We did have 1 suicide and no overdoses, which And then come up year to date, we're at 36 total cases. 16 of those are corner cases, 21 are hospice cases, 4 autopsies, and still with 1 suicide, and no overdoses. And then last month you asked me if I would pull up the overdoses for the past years, and I went ahead and went from 2015 just so you can kind of see what the numbers run. 2016 we were up, and 2016 was actually the year that the doctors started restricting prescribing opiates just to everybody over the counter. And I believe that the reason that that was high, and we did have quite a few heroin overdose deaths that year. I think people were addicted. They were looking for other avenues, hadn't been messing with the heroin and stuff. They'd been on oxy and things like that. So I think that that's probably one of the reasons that one was so high. But everything has slowed down from that date until this last year. 2019, we had 0 fentanyl deaths. 2020, we had 1 fentanyl death. 21, we had 1 fentanyl death. Last year, we had 8. So fentanyl's really becoming a problem. They're cutting it in with a lot of things. Well, they're cutting it in with everything. They're cutting fentanyl in with marijuana. They're cutting fentanyl in with methamphetamine. They're cutting it in with pretty much any drug you can get. There's a new, well, it's not new. It's an old Oriental herb that's grown, and it's called kratom. Kratom. And that is becoming a big problem. There's getting to be quite a few overdoses. We had 1 last year. So, and it's getting to be a big thing all over state of Colorado that I know of. I'm not sure other states.
That was regulated last year through the legislator. They had a kratom bill that we'd actually talked about, if you guys remember that, to where they could actually sell them in dispensaries at what age, because there apparently was no age limitation prior to this legislation that took place last year.
That's crazy. And they're cutting fentanyl into that. Yeah. They've found it in there. So fentanyl's going to become a bigger problem than we have now, I'm afraid.
George, real quick, I'm over here.
Oh.
Are you testing for this new, what is it, xylazine and fentanyl combined? It's supposed to be some kind of horse tranquilizer, because that's starting to come up from Arizona.
Yeah, I haven't seen, I think that I did have one case. I'm going to go back and look at that. I got a phone call earlier today asking about that. I think I did have one case where I had that, was in it in one of my results, but I'm going to go back and double check it. If it was, it wasn't high, but still, it's regardless, if it's in there, that's something we're going to have to start watching, because we're going to see it a lot more, I'm afraid. They're seeing a lot in Arizona. And then, if anybody wants to look at it, I kind of put some graphs together from last year. I do it every year just to kind of look at it myself, just to see how everything compares to previous years. I have the by month cases. It shows the number of cases I've had by month, and these are corner only cases. And it kind of runs pretty much on average. You know, January is usually a big month. This last year, this is the lowest January I ever had. But every time I have a slow month, I pay for it. Actually, other counties have been very slow too. And I don't know if it's the weather. I have no idea what it is, but I'm not going to argue about it. I'm glad to see. I wished every month was slow. But that just shows the numbers per month. The time of day, those pretty much run consistent year after year. Every year I've been doing this, 4 o'clock in the morning has been the least time that I've been called out. And I think that that's probably just because everybody's in good sleep right then. Nobody notices, you know, that someone's passed away. People that have been partying have already gone home or whatever. So, but midday has always been the highest number. And then day of the week, that's really been changing. I had 4 years in a row where Sunday I had the least amount of deaths on Sunday. And this year, it's tied with the most deaths that I've had. So just some different things that I like to look at. Okay? Do you guys have anything, any questions?
No.
No?
So watch out on 10 a.m. on Wednesday?
Be careful.
Yeah.
That's,
Be careful.
I think he's telling you that.
Yeah, I know.
We've already been hit.
Yeah.
Yeah, two of you are pretty rough up there.
Yeah.
It was. It was a Wednesday too.
It was Wednesday
'Cause
morning
we're
about
supposed to
that
be
time,
catching a
so-
flight.
Yeah.
Can't invest in bubble wrap.
I've already been hit a long time ago.
Fair enough.
Thank
All
you,
right,
George.
You guys have a good day.
All right.
Thanks, George.
We're going to move into the unfinished business. The first thing we had was our discussion regarding the CIP. We went into length yesterday in regards to this. Bobby Locke, our Director of Public Health, gave us all of the criteria, all of the forms, and everything that was, so that we comply with the new secure transportation of vehicles. This will be for our CIP program, so that we are now compliant with the new regulations of the state. So with that, Commissioners, any further questions or comments?
No. Gerald, do you have anything?
No, I don't have any fun.
Go ahead.
I move that we certify that Montezuma County Emergency Management, DBA, Community Intervention Program, and the state of Colorado, we have a Type B secure transportation vehicle permit. And having paid Montezuma County Public Health the appropriate fees. What's that?
I think there's a license, there's a permit and a license.
Oh,
So that's
okay.
separate.
Oh, okay. That involves a permit, and there's also, this is just, you have to certify with the Montezuma County Emergency Management, DBA Community Intervention Program for a Class B Secure Transportation Service license also.
Second.
Okay, it's been moved and seconded to accept and sign the permit and the service license for the CIP program to be compliant with the state CRS 3.5-310. All those in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Aye. Okay, next we have the discussion of vehicles. We just pulled that off the table. We're going to give our attorneys time to talk about that. Decision regarding the black and gray marijuana grant. We found out yesterday that we had made an error of about $18,000. That error will carry over to the sheriff's budget in the marijuana grant. So it went from around $90,000 to $108,000. That was discussed in our workshop yesterday. We're going to pull the decision today for the strategic planning. We're not ready for that, but we do have a discussion for our web check pen test program. This was presented yesterday in our workshop by our IT director, and it's basically a penetration test to make sure that we can't get hackers coming in and out of our systems. It's a basically for our security. If you'd like to elaborate on that more, Mr. McLean, you may do so. That's the quick 30-second synopsis.
I can make it faster than that. Yes, that's all it's for. And it's also hopefully going forward, we'll know where we look in the future as far as tools we may need, or it also should help with our cybersecurity insurance, because that's a big thing right now, especially after what happened in Fremont County. So I'm just trying to make sure I get ahead of the game before we have an issue like that arise.
Yeah. So we're doing everything that we can to make sure that our systems are not penetratable. All right?
Nothing's perfect, but we can sure try, and we keep after
We
it.
continue to try.
Yeah, I don't want to end up like Fremont County.
No, I'd prefer not.
They spent a lot of money trying
Over
to get out.
$5 million.
Yeah.
Any other questions?
No.
Okay.
I move to approve the penetration test proposal through Wyber Check Security, through our IT system for Montezuma County.
Second.
Okay, it's been moved and seconded to accept and sign for WebTech Security, the penetration test proposal to Montezuma County. I was going to give you an amount here. In the amount of $5,000. Any further discussion? All those in favor?
Aye.
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 Okay. And then last but not least, we had a presentation yesterday of our lodger's tax. Apparently, we had lost one of our lodger's tax that represented Menkes. We do have a representative now that we can approve. Travis, do you want to pull up the name?
Jason from Mancus.
Well, Jason, but I kind of need to have his entire name. Okay, well, this, as we, Armstrong, correct.
Thank you, Vicki.
I remember. So, we do have one applicant for the Menkes representative. Gentlemen, do you have any other discussion?
No.
Okay.
I would so move we appoint Jason Armstrong from Mancus as representative for them to the Lodgers Tax Committee.
Second.
Okay, it's been moved and seconded to appoint Jason Armstrong to the Lodgers Tax Committee representing Menkes. All those in favor?
Aye.
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 All right, new business. We have a liquor license for the Getting Place, Miss Frizzell. Good morning.
Clerk and Recorders do liquor license renewal. This one's for Still Investments Incorporated, doing business as the Getting Place at 26060 Highway 491 in Pleasant View, Colorado. I have the sheriff's report, and they've had no incidents reported.
Okay.
I move we approve this retail liquor license and fermented malt beverage license for the Getting Place Steel Investments Incorporated. That's his address. 26060 Highway 491, Pleasant View.
Second.
It's been moved and seconded to accept the retail liquor fermented malt beverage license renewal application for Steel Investments Incorporated as the Getting Place, located at 26060 Highway 491, Pleasant View, Colorado. Any further discussion? All those in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Okay, Ian, Road 14.
So, this is a deed of easement for a right-of-way along Road 14. The landowner along that road with the property adjoining agreed to deed an easement for a public right-of-way through her property. And so basically what this will do is it'll allow us to extend County Road 14 and connect it to the public lands there. So this is the easement. I met with Miss Alexander and her attorney. We got this worked out, and so we need just a motion and a signature today.
Okay, any other questions? I mean, we've been out there, we've driven it. I found a new road in Montezuma County that I'd never been on in 62 years. but it does exist.
Commissioner Deeds, you want to go ahead and do that?
I move to approve this deed of easement for a right-of-way for Road 14 between Gale, Alexander, and Montezuma County as Exhibit A for the extension of Road 14 to the public lands.
Second.
Okay, it's been moved and seconded to sign a deed of easement and right-of-way on Road 14 as presented in the documents. All those in favor?
Don't forget to put the date up on the top of this document.
All those in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
No.
I'll let Kim add that, so your writing is legible. Right now, my writing is not great.
Does this go to you, Ethan?
Okay. All right, now we're gonna go to our grant coordinator, Mr. Dobry. Come on down, turn on a mic and tell us what you have.
Good morning, Commissioners.
Morning.
So yeah, I wanted to give you an update on what we have going on the grant front. Right now, I am tracking about 30 grants. Some are a little further out, but I wanted to at least give you an idea of the breadth of what we have going on. The ones that we have in process right now, we applied on Tuesday for an Economic Development Organization Action Grant, and that is $26,000 is what we applied for, and that would be to develop a community prospectus for local business to know and to understand what incentives are available, as well as for businesses that are interested in relocating to our area. And there's no match required on that. The other big thing in process is the EIAF solar grant for the fairgrounds that has been going on for a while. That looks to be about $300,000 for the total project cost. Right now, it's $221,646 for the grant piece of that, so 75% of the project. That may adjust a little bit. I requested new updated numbers from Shaw Solar to make sure that we're requesting the full amount of what the project will cost now. One of the positives with that is it appears that we will qualify as part of the new infrastructure bill, the federal infrastructure bill, that we will qualify for the ITC direct pay, which is basically the tax credit that previously businesses and individuals could qualify for. Governments and other nonprofit type organizations that don't pay taxes now qualify to directly get paid that tax credit. So that would be 30% or possibly 40% of the project cost if we qualify as an energy community. That some of that IRS detail isn't out yet, but that would mean that solar project should be fully funded without additional funding from the county. We are working on a transportation alternatives program plan. I met with Road and Bridge, Noxious Weeds, Natural Resources, and Economic Development to develop a project for that. We ended up deciding to work on Section C of the Paths to Mesa Verde because it's the most shovel-ready, which is one of the requirements of that grant, and also because the matching requirements should all be met by existing grant funds and other funds that are already part of that project. So there wouldn't be any additional match required for the county. We, James in Natural Resources and I will be meeting with our CDOT representative on the 2nd to move forward with that project. We are also looking at a community wildfire defense grant. Since the county has a wildfire defense plan, we're now eligible for implementation money, and those grants can be up to $10 million. There is a 25% match to that, but we are putting together a meeting with the various stakeholders, fire departments, wildfire adapted partnerships, as well as county departments like noxious weeds and emergency management, to develop a project for that can address some county issues as well as other community issues. So we're scheduled right now to meet on the 9th to see what we can do for a grant for that. And the other thing with the match for that is there is a Colorado IIJA local match grant that if we decide to put forward a program for that, we could apply to Colorado for matching funds to meet the match. The part of that infrastructure bill, the federal government recognized that local governments don't have some of the match requirements, so they included money to the state to then pass through to local governments. So if we end up putting a project together for that, we would be able to apply for that local match program to again avoid having to spend local funds on that. As far as congressionally directed spending, I'm attending a Zoom training with Senator Hickenlooper's office on the 28th, so that I can learn a bit more about it and be available for department heads if they need help in applying. The GOCO grant that you had previously approved to put an application in for the Lewis Aerial Community Center, after speaking with GOCO, we would need to have what they described as a special land use agreement with the community center, since we don't own the land in applying. So we aren't applying for this round, one, because of that, but also because they need to be able to put together a strong application for that. So that will probably have to come back before you to move forward with that.
So that was just a pass-through. What, I guess,
Because Montezuma County would be the grantee, we would need agreements with, because they want to make sure, basically, GOCO wants to make sure that the equipment or whatever is granted is maintained, and that we would have an agreement between the community center or any other grantee, any other pass-through, but that the equipment would be maintained and that we have the right to put it wherever we're putting it, since it isn't on county, since that isn't county land, county-owned land.
Yeah. Why don't you get with Ian on that and get that as quick as we can?
Well, and we would be able to apply for that in the summer.
Okay.
There's an August round that we'd be able to apply for. The other thing I wanted to talk about with that is just sometime in the future, I do want to work with you on setting some policy and rates to make sure that for any pass-through agreements that the county time is fully respected and covered, so that if we're acting as a pass-through, we're not paying to do it.
well, and that was represented right straight up front when they came to us, that we would be nothing more than the pass-through agent, and they were to do all of the work. So,
No, and I absolutely understand that. I want to make sure that the county is able to recoup any of the administrative costs through managing the grant. So I know with the agreement for the city Raise Up Ready grant, but where the county is passed through and there's a 2% fee, I think we should just set some policy around that to make sure that we are fully covered going forward.
I think it was set forth in that grant, wasn't it?
It is in that one, but not generally as.
Okay.
Yeah, not generally, exactly. A couple other things, they're sort of similar to that ITC direct tax credit payment. The county would now be eligible for commercial clean vehicle tax credit payments, direct pay payments. So that's just something in the future when buying vehicles that the county should possibly look at as a cost savings option. Other than that, I am working with departments to get sort of a list of wants and needs, and then try and match that up with the grants that I can find in the community, federal, state, and otherwise. Do you have any other questions?
No, sounds good.
Not at this time.
All right, thank you.
Appreciate it, Rob.
I will let you know that in the IIJA being back at NACO in the transportation portion of those meetings, that there's a lot for bridges. I was texting back and forth with Rob just to kind of get a list of how many bridges we actually have in the county, where we lie with our inspections on them, and how many that we have for repair and or replacement.
Okay.
So get with him specifically on the bridges, because I know that there are a couple in the Mancus area that are probably.
He mentioned one, I think the one around Road 39 was one that he mentioned that could use some work. So I'll get with him and get a kind of list of that. We will need to make sure that we're kind of shovel ready and ready to go on those projects, otherwise we won't be able to.
Correct, but some of those are small. They're under the 40-foot marker, and there's a lot of different funding for rural communities on those shorter bridges. The one that we're doing out at Alkali Creek is, I think it's 80 feet, so they fall under a little bit different criteria, but there's a lot of help out there to keep those open so that the transportation portion can stay open.
Absolutely.
All right, thank you.
Thank you.
Thanks, Rob.
Okay, county attorney's report. Ian, I don't know if you have anything else or not.
I do. Really good news on our Road 41 case. That appeal has been dismissed. The plaintiffs in that case agreed to file a motion to dismiss their appeal. And what that means is that the district court's order that portion of Road 41 that was in dispute is a 60-foot road. That will be binding from here on out. We have a survey that depicts where the road is, 60 feet from each side. And so that boundary is now defined, and that case is closed moving forward. So that wraps up what really amounted to about 5 years of litigation. A lot of attorneys worked on this case. Certainly our previous attorney put a lot of work in on this case. I put a ton of work in on this case. And the insurance company's law firm, Vaughn and DeMuro, also helped with this. So really great thing for the county, and so that's good news. As to the fencing that remains in the right-of-way, there is quite a bit of fencing that's within the 60-foot right-of-way. The plaintiff will start removing that fencing as soon as the weather allows. There is a small portion of fencing, I believe it's about 400 yards, that sits, one side of the fencing sits right on an embankment, and the other side of the fencing sits up on the other side. We're going to work with our road department and the plaintiffs through their attorneys to see whether it might be possible to come to an agreement to move the center line of the road in that portion of the road. That would allow that fence to stay on the embankment, and then we would just move the center line of the road so the plaintiffs on the other side would give up some property. So if we can come to an agreement, that'll be helpful for both sides. If not, there's a deadline of May 31st for that agreement to be reached, and if it's not reached, then the plaintiffs will have to remove that fencing from the right-of-way. So really good news on that front. I was pleased with the resolution in that case. The only other thing I have to report, last week I met with a woman named Virginia Howie. She does nonprofit work, and she was doing a survey. There was a grant received in Montezuma County. My understanding is the aim of the grant was to take some steps to try to change perceptions that individuals have of the child protection system and the issues facing Montezuma County. They interviewed some decision makers back 5 years ago regarding perceptions in Montezuma County, and then I participated in an interview with her last week. Just talked to her a little bit about some of the things that I saw and that the county sees in the child protection realm. Thought it was a helpful interview and went well. So at this point, that's what I have to report.
All right.
Congratulations.
Thank you. And thank you for taking that on for me, because Ian was much more fitted for that interview than I was.
He sees a lot more than we do.
We don't see it. So, okay, Travis.
So been pretty busy over the last week or two. With the fairgrounds, we come up with 3 ideas out there. The first, we're going to try to do the flea market for the community. Met with Mel and Jessica on the landfill. We're going to try to do the voucher program with the funds that was budgeted. was able to attend CCI Zoom. That was pretty interesting, half a day. So, and then we're kicking off our ClearGov. I think everybody should have got an email to
Yeah.
get on there, and all the information is to ClearGov, so hopefully we'll get that up and running, and budgets will be a little more simpler next year.
Okay,
That's it.
that's it. All right. Commissioner Copenhaver.
I had, along with Travis, attended the cattlemen's meeting a couple weeks ago on Saturday. I've also had, this last Thursday, we had a Zoom meeting with Southwest Water Conservation District to basically discussing Colorado River issues and the program Colorado's trying to roll out to get people to put their water into a demand management process to put more water down into Lake Powell, basically is what they're trying to do. We had that meeting last Thursday, and that's about all I've attended.
Okay. Commissioner.
Yeah, quite a few phone calls and some visits in the grocery store, but I did attend last Tuesday's city council meeting, and they did quite a bit of business. We were there quite late, but I'm happy to report that they are now in the first reading of an ordinance to lease the city's fiber broadband network to Vero Broadband LLC, and there's a Clear Network name in there also. They did sign the intergovernmental agreement for dispatch services for Montezuma County. Also, I was talking to Jeremy Patton down at the airport, and certification is probably, of FAA 139 is probably 3 months out.
Oh, wow, good.
So that will be a real addition to the county. Also, they appointed Dennis Spruill in place of Kelly Koski to the Dispatch Services Committee. And let's see here. One thing that's really stands out, they've got a CDOT grant outlining justification for an advanced training device at the Cortez Municipal Airport. And the city signed that grant, and it will bring in students, hopefully, to learn how to fly. And there's some other attention being given down there that I think will reap some benefits, I hope. They entered into a water rate study. It's a 10-year study. And they bought a lawnmower, a 60-inch zero-turn lawnmower. So we were there quite a while.
Good deal. All right. Well, I was back east. My just something for everybody to know. If you're flying back east in the wintertime, probably fly through Dallas and then up instead of going through Denver and up, because flights are a little bit challenging coming through DIA. Had a lot of, I shouldn't say restriction, but a lot of delays and a lot of cancellations, and end up spending a few more nights in places that I didn't really intend on it, but that's just the way the winter is. One of the biggest takeaways out there, other than the public lands and everything that's going on there, was the transportation. And something that they're doing as the DOT, obviously the bridges was one that I've already talked about, but they realized that the infrastructure for this electrification of vehicles is getting greater and greater. So instead of everybody going home plugging their vehicles in at night, they have a new development that they're actually going to put. It's a charging system within the roadways. So as they're constructing new roadways or rebuilding them, they'll lay copper lines in the roadway as you're charging, which then eliminates the size of the batteries, eliminates the draw on the infrastructure at night. It's all in development. It's kind of neat, kind of.
When I was a kid, we had slot cars, man.
I'm just telling you, so that the charging systems are going to be as you're charging as you're going down the road. Another one is for transportation and communication is that we keep having this fight between Bezos and Musk We have Starlink that Musk has, and now Bezos is developing through Amazon. Basically, the low-lying satellites, as Starlink is, that Amazon is going to provide. They're in the development of that right now, in that low-lying area, so that they can create more
Low Earth orbit.
Low Earth orbit, there you go. So that they can create more connectivity to people in the rural communities, because in that way, if they provide a inexpensive internet service connectivity, they can actually sell more packages. So expect to see that again, just like Starlink's, except for it's going to be Amazon. So as long as those two guys keep battling, there's going to be new inventions all over the place. Like I said, it was challenging getting to and from there in the wintertime, but I did learn next time I will go to Texas and not north. We have been with our administrator and staff the rest of the week working on issues of budgeting and taking a good look at all of that. We had our workshop yesterday, which we discussed the largest tax representative, Matt Margison, our district attorney, was in. He will be with us until the 27th of the month, and then he will no longer be with us as our DA. He will be a judge out in Dolores County. He will be leaving us, and we will have an appointment by the governor, hopefully within a couple of weeks. In that short period of time, we will get assistance from the Attorney General's office, which was presented yesterday. We talked about our CIP transportation, our county vehicles owned by Montezuma County leaving the county, the marijuana black and gray grant. We also, which we're going to look into further today, we have a right of access on Trail Canyon Road on the lower section. We're going to check to see if that gate is actually in the right place, so that it was so that it's compliant with the resolution that was signed back in 1983. We're going to go drive around and look at that this afternoon. Talked about our pen test, and then our strategic planning RFPs will be put off for another week, and that is basically all that I have for this morning. All right.
We through?
Yeah.
I move we adjourn.
Second.
Okay, it's been moved and seconded that we adjourn this February 20th or 21st, 2023 meeting. All those in favor?
Aye.
Aye.